Hello, I'm Debbie Kay, a volunteer with the League of Women Voters of Portland, and you are watching the Video Voters Guide. We are at MetroEast Community Media to talk with candidates running in the November 2016 election. With me today is James Stubbs, running for the legislature from District 42. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, you're most welcome, Debbie. I'm glad to come.
Good. Well, let's describe your district a little bit.
Well, District 42 is most of inner southeast Portland and a little chunk of northeast. It is a very lively district and also very rapidly growing. It contains the largest collection of small and family-owned businesses in the city, which is really my desire for wanting to run, is to really see family businesses do better. I've seen too many businesses disappear from my district, and they all had generally universal answers as to why: cost, taxes, permits, etc. And I would like to see family businesses have better opportunities by reducing the costs involved with starting a business and running a small business, which is where the majority of our jobs come from.
Well, more or less on that subject, and diving into the hot topic of the moment, Measure 97. If it does not pass, how will you address the predicted budget shortfall, especially for education and social services?
Debbie, I'm very glad you asked that question. That is the 800-pound gorilla in the room, as it were. I believe that we definitely need a better corporate tax system. We need a corporate tax system that is pretty evenly laid out, that taxes a broader range of corporations in a steady manner, not just one chunk of corporations. I think Measure 97 is a pretty poorly written piece of legislation. I like the idea behind creating a better corporate tax system, just not the method of which it is. So a new corporate tax system, and I really think there is a great deal of inefficiency in the way our funds are distributed. So I would like to take a very good look at cutting costs in administration in areas where money just goes to waste, and direct those funds right into the classrooms.
And again, if it doesn't pass, what about the shortfall?
I think a new corporate tax system would make that up, one that's a little bit broader and taxing virtually all Oregon corporations a much more reasonable amount versus taxing, the few largest ones in the state. I think that's the best way to make up a budget shortfall, is a much better tax system and much better efficiency in the use of our money, especially where schools are concerned.
Mm-hmm. And moving to gun safety, what are your legislative priorities there?
I think education is the most important thing where gun safety is concerned. The bottom line is there are a lot of guns in our state, in our nation, and I don't think it's possible to change that right now. I think that people need to be educated on the proper and safe storage of their firearms. Most importantly, a firearm, when it's not in use, should absolutely be locked up tighter than tight. And people need to understand the consequences of improper storage of their firearms, and worse, letting a child get a hold of a firearm. If anybody lets a child get a hold of their firearm and cause harm to someone else, they need to go to jail. That's the number one place I think we need to start, is education.
Do you have any thoughts on closing extreme risk protection orders, how to help people achieve that?
I think it's another great subject. I see that we are not even enforcing the laws that we have on the books. There were 68,000 attempts to purchase a gun last year by unauthorized persons. A whopping 44 were prosecuted. So first, we start by enforcing the laws actually already on the book. Second, we improve the system in that we can keep track of the people who shouldn't have firearms. If someone has been involuntarily committed, they're automatically disqualified from owning a firearm. But what reporting system is there in place? That is the first thing we have to fix. People who shouldn't have firearms need to be tracked. One. Two, there needs to be a community-based system working with police and sheriffs to create a means of safekeeping. If someone, for instance, is injured or recovering from a traumatic brain injury or some type of issue where they're emotionally unstable and probably shouldn't have firearms, then there needs to be a way to take their firearms out of the picture, at least for a period of time until a complete evaluation is completed to determine whether or not this person at some point could have their firearms back or should never have a firearm. That's what's missing right now.
Interesting. Thank you. Moving on to transportation infrastructure, how do you imagine the legislature can ensure that there are adequate funds to address the real priorities of our transportation infrastructure?
Debbie, that's actually one of my pet peeves is infrastructure. Outside of Portland and a few of the other major cities, our infrastructure is absolutely crumbling. Particularly, for instance, the Interstate Bridge is celebrating its, well, one span, but anyway, is celebrating its 100th birthday, and it's a wreck. And there are many other bridges in the state, for instance, that are in very horrible condition. Well, I have proposed a 10-year infrastructure tax plan by where all fuels will be taxed 10 cents a gallon, all tires will be taxed $2, except for studded tires, which will be taxed $5 due to the fact they cause tens of thousands of dollars of damage every year. And vehicle registrations will be taxed $10 per vehicle for each current new registration and renewal. This 10-year plan will generate $1.9 to $2.2 billion and have those funds set aside specifically for infrastructure so that they cannot be used for any other thing or be diverted into any other thing. A long-term infrastructure plan is crucial for Oregon to continue to grow and succeed, and history has shown that long-term infrastructure projects also create living wage and high-wage long-term jobs and long-term economic stability.
Sounds like an interesting way of approaching the revenue problem to address those issues. Thank you. We have about a minute. What more can the state of Oregon do to reduce carbon dioxide emissions?
Well, I think we're moving in the right direction with closing down the Boardman coal-fired plant. I have been a huge fan of photovoltaics, of solar energy for as long as I can remember. I've studied it, I've read on it. I think we need to continue to allow tax breaks for consumers and people and businesses who will install photovoltaic systems and other green-friendly methods of power generation and steadily move away from fossil fuels in general.
All right. We are out of time. I would like to thank you, the viewer, for watching. This has been the Video Voters Guide. Let me remind you that the general election is November 8th and the last day to register to vote is October 18th. Please be an informed voter. Learn about the candidates and the ballot measures. Check the League of Women Voters website and exercise your right to vote. Thank you, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Debbie.